You know what happened in Texas with the shooting, but there's another story, and the story is that the cops stood outside and didn't go in while the guy was shooting the kids because the cops were cowards. And here it is. Cops still can't explain agonizing hour-long wait to storm the Uvalde classroom. Is that how you pronounce it, Uvalde? Am I saying it correctly? I haven't heard it pronounced yet. Here we go. As questions mount over the police response to the shooting rampage in Uvalde that left 19 children dead, including an hour-long wait to storm the building, footage has surfaced showing desperate parents pleading with police officers outside the school to take action as the massacre was unfolding inside. The video, filmed by a nearby resident outside Texas Robb Elementary School, was verified by the Washington Post, was taken at 11:54 a.m., 15 minutes after the 18-year-old gunman Salvador Ramos had entered the school and barricaded himself in a classroom where he opened fire on kids and teachers. He was still shooting, and the cops were outside not going in. And so I'll just show you a little bit of this because it's just heartbreaking to watch. So here are the parents, and they want the cops to go in to do something. And what did the cops do? The cops start tasing the parents. That's what they start doing. I'm not kidding. You see, they tackled that one guy. They tackled that one guy who's trying to go in and help his kids. So that cop has a taser in his hand. He's going to tase the parents. There's a guy inside of a school with a gun shooting kids, and they're outside tasing parents. You can't make this up. And the cops won't do anything. The cops won't do anything. They got guns everywhere. What do you got your gun for? What do you got your gun for? There's a guy inside. Go shoot him. No. What do they got their guns for? What do you have your gun for?
You know, a bunch got their own kids, right? Like,
yes.
The cops got their own kids. Holy shit.
So I won't play any more of that. These cops are right here, bro. There's an effing shooting at the school, and these effing cops are telling everybody to leave. Dude, while everybody's here trying to pick up their effing kids, the man filming the video can be heard saying, the kids are all in there, and the cops ain't doing shit but standing outside, he says moments later before adding, you know that there are kids, right? There's little kids. They don't know how to defend themselves. One parent, Angel Rose Gomez, told the Wall Street Journal she was even handcuffed for apparently impeding an investigation by desperately urging officers to storm the school. The police were doing nothing, she said. They were just standing outside on the fence. Victor Escalon, regional director for the Texas Department of Public Safety, provided an updated timeline of events on Thursday, yet it still raised more questions than it answered. You want to see this? Watch this.
So at this time, no, there was not an officer readily available armed. No.
So he's answering a question because originally the reporting was that the authorities said there was a cop at the school with a gun. He's saying there wasn't. So that's what that was. And then,
could anybody have gone there sooner? You gotta understand, it's a small town. You have people from Eagle Pass, from Del Rio, Laredo, San Antonio responding to a small community.
could they have got there sooner? You got to remember, it's a small town. We've got people from Eagle Pass, Del Rio, Old El Paso responding, many of whom hadn't had breakfast yet. And that's the most important meal of the day. Here we go, more.
According to the information I have, he went in at 11:40. He walks, and I'm going to approximate 20 feet, 30 feet. He makes a right. He walks into the hallway. He makes a right, walks another 20 feet. Turns left into a schoolroom. into a classroom that has doors open in the middle.
Why is he giving all this ridiculous information? The shooter walked 20 paces and then opened the doors, then turned left and walked another 20 paces to a classroom with doors. Also, there was a chalkboard, some desks, maybe an apple on the desk. We're still waiting for forensics on that. These are the most incompetent cops I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen incompetent cops. This is unbelievable. These guys are like, they're worse than high school children. This is unbelievable.
It's just crazy that the parents were trying to go in there, the teachers were running trying to stop the shooter, but the cops who are fully, you know, armed and have, you know, body armor on, they're like, no, we need backup. And one of the parents that they detained, their child was killed. You know, one of the ones that they had in handcuffs,
wow.
Their child was killed.
Here's more.
Officers are there, the initial officers, they receive gunfire. They don't make entry initially because of the gunfire they're receiving. But we have officers calling for additional resources. Everybody that's in the area, tactical teams. We need equipment. We need specialty equipment. We need body armor. We need precision riflemen.
What's he doing?
Negotiators. So during that time that they're making those calls to bring in help to solve this problem and stop it immediately, they're also evacuating.
So we need resources, tactical teams, equipment, specialty equipment, snipers, negotiators. Somebody's got to make a Starbucks run. We got to consult with Chuck Norris for any possible karate-based solutions. What?
Really
He's acting like, oh, there's a guy shooting. All right, we've got a list of stuff we got to go home and do, and then we'll come back. We got to call these people and make all these lists and get all this equipment here. No, you guys have, I see all the guns you guys have. There's a bunch of cops there with rifles. Go in the school, you pussies. Go in the school, you cowards.
It really sounds like Reno 911.
Yes.
It's like a Reno 911.
They go the other way, and then they stop people from trying to save them.
Personnel, not say personnel, students, teachers. There's a lot going on.
There was a lot going on. One of those things that weren't going on was us going after the shooter and saving those kids. That was one of the things that wasn't going on. You know what was one of the things that were going on? You were stopping people from going into the school to save the kids. That was one of the things that was going on.
The first story I saw come out about the nearly hour-long period in which they weren't going in and stopping the shooter, I heard officials from the police department, sheriff's department, saying that they were trying to locate a key for the room for 1 hour. And it took
for
them
an hour
to find a key for
to
the
get
room.
a master
That was what they
key.
initially said.
Well, watch this. Here we go. There's more from this guy.
So look, we appreciate the questions.
Well, what were the officers doing between 11:44 and 12:44?
I got
The
you.
suspect is barricaded behind that. You guys have said that he was barricaded. Can you explain to us how he was barricaded and why you guys cannot breach that door?
So I have taken all your questions into consideration. We will be doing updates. We will be doing updates to answer those questions.
You should be able to answer that question now, sir.
What is your name?
Shimon Prokopets from
Shimon.
CNN.
I hear you.
Because we've been given a lot of bad information. So why don't you clear all of this up now and explain to us how it is that your officers who were in there for an hour, yes, rescuing people, but yet no one was able to get inside that room.
Shimon, we will circle back with you. We want to answer all your questions. We want to give you the why. That's.
So he's asked, what were the cops doing for an hour between 11:44 and 12:44? Well, that's when a lot of the cops are watching The View. Also, my deputy Chet, he had to pick up some dry cleaning. That's what was going on.
You got to circle back.
He's got to circle back. Believe me, Shimon, we want to answer all your questions. We need more resources. We need PR people, lawyers, more cowboy hats for sure, computer animators. We're a small town. Here we go.
Our job. So give us time. I'm taking all your questions. I'm taking them back to talk to the team.
Can you tell us how the door was barricaded?
Look, thank you for being here.
How was the door
We'll talk
barricaded?
soon.
So he gave no answers to anybody about anything. But I will show you how they blame teachers for this. So I just to get you up to date, so that guy confirmed that the shooter crashed his truck in a ditch near the school at 11:28 a.m. He then climbed out of the passenger side with a long-arm rifle and a backpack of ammunition. He fired at 2 people at the funeral home across the street from the school who were not injured. They called 911 at 11:32 a.m. about an armed man who had crashed his truck and was running towards the school. That's at 11:32 a.m. At 11:40, approximately 8 to 10 minutes later, surveillance video captured Ramos entering the school, the shooter entering the school unobstructed via a back door that was left unlocked, that cop said. Ramos walked down 2 hallways and barricaded himself in a 4th grade classroom. 4 minutes later, the first police officers arrived on the scene, but they were fired upon by Ramos. They don't make entry initially because of the gunfire. They call for additional resources. Everybody that's in the area, he said. We need specialty equipment. We need body armor. We need precise riflemen, negotiators. You heard him say that. He insisted the officers were trying to evacuate students and teachers at the same time. Then a full hour later, Border Patrol tactical teams arrived. Then they made entry and they killed Ramos. Escalon could not explain what happened in the 10 minutes between the 9/11 call and Ramos entering the school. What did happen? Where were the cops? Why couldn't the cops get there within 10 minutes? There's a 9/11 call. You're a small town. It takes longer than 10 minutes to drive to the school? They could have got there before the guy got in the school.
And you don't alert the school.
And you don't alert the school to close the doors?
Yeah, what?
So he also repeatedly denied to explain why or how it took an hour for specialist teams to arrive and breach the classroom. You got to understand, it's a small town, he said. What? He added that the majority of gunfire was in Ramos's initial moments inside the school. What was happening was there were kids inside the school while there were cops outside with guns, tasing and cuffing parents. There were little kids calling 911 still inside the school because they were alive. And the cops wouldn't go in. So while the cops were outside doing that to those people, parents we just showed you, there were still kids inside being shot and kids still calling 911 on their cell phones inside before they got shot. Yeah. Watch this. You want to see this? He's going to ask them, what were they doing? What were the cops doing for that whole hour? Watch this.
You say there were 19 officers gathered in the hallway or somewhere. What efforts?
So now they're saying, no, we weren't in the school. There were 19 officers in the school. And now he's going to ask them, well, what were they doing?
Were made to try and break through that door. You say it was locked. What efforts were the officers making to try and break through either that door or another door to get inside that classroom?
None at that time.
None. They were making no attempt to try to save those kids. And they act like that's an acceptable answer. Hey, look, just because we all wear cowboy hats doesn't mean we aren't huge pussies. Because we are. We're all cowards.
Look at what those hats just standing there like
just idiots.
Jag-offs.
Fucking morons. They're at a cowboy hat convention. They're all playing dress up. That's fucking grown-ups playing dress up. And they give them guns, too, because they'll never use them when they're supposed to. They should have told him there was an unarmed black guy inside with a cell phone. They would have ran in there and shot his head off.
We're better with unarmed teens, the armed kind.
Yeah,
We
why
need
did they-
some resources?
They didn't say, there's a bunch, there's some black guys in there with cell phones. They're waving them around. They're unarmed. Go shoot them.
I'm still tripping over the fact that there was 10 minutes after the cops were called after the funeral home shooting and no one responded.
No one responded for
notified the
10
school.
minutes. No, and the guy's headed towards the school. What?
Yeah,
What were the cops doing? Where were they?
There's no way. I grew up in a very small town, cops everywhere, very safe town. If there was a call like something like that was happening, they would have, I mean, ideally been there in like 2-3 minutes, you know?
Yeah, small town means there's my ex-girlfriend's parents teach at a college just like outside of Philly, okay? But at Philly, I don't know if you know, they have terrible police response time. So this a few years ago, I remember her telling me this. The parents are told in the event of an active shooter, there's about a 30 to 45 minute wait for the cops. So the recommendation was to get a gun. They told the teachers there, we recommend you get a gun because the cops won't be. So this is a big city with not enough cops, not a tiny town with like, I assume nothing else going on except the biggest thing that's ever happened there.
Right. So what? Yeah, exactly. What were the cops doing instead of going to that school? And they can't answer that question. And the other question is, why didn't you guys try to break into the room where the guy was shooting the kids as the kids were still alive and calling 911? But here it is again. I'll play it again.
You say there were 19 officers gathered in the hallway or somewhere. What efforts were made to try and break through that door? You say it was locked. What efforts were the officers making to try and break through either that door or another door to get inside that classroom?
None at that time. The on-scene commander at the time believed that it had transitioned from an active shooter to a barricaded subject.
You have people who are alive, children who are calling 911 saying, please send the police. They are alive in that classroom. There are lives that are at risk. That's not protocol, is it?
We're well aware of that.
Right, yeah. But why was this decision made not to go in and rescue these children?
Again, you know,
this guy sounds like Amber Heard on the fucking stand. It's unbelievable. We're well aware of that. You mean you're well aware that there were little kids calling for you to come save them, and you didn't?
Not at that time. At that time, no, we did not.
At that time, we were not saving them. No.
I keep saying at that time.
And they were in the hallway. They had 19 cops in the hallway. One shooter, 19 cops in the hallway. What?
Those are called 19 huge pussies.
Also, you can hear if it's transitioned from shooting to merely a barricaded subject because there won't be any sounds of shooting coming out of it.
But the kids were still calling 911. So it wasn't a barricaded subject. So you were wrong. Hey, there's more.
The on-scene commander considered a barricaded subject and that there was time and there were no more children at risk. Obviously, you know, based upon the information we have, there were children in that classroom that were at risk, and it was, in fact, still an active shooter situation and not a barricaded subject.
Sir, if I can follow up. Sir.
So he's
what? So that's that. So we just didn't go in.
So they thought it was that there wasn't any kids with him. He had just barricaded himself in.
No, he thought that all the kids were dead, is what he's saying.
Wow.
He's saying that there were no more kids at risk anymore. We thought that so he didn't say that, but that's what he's implying, that they were all dead, and he was just barricaded himself in that room with the dead kids. They were already dead. They weren't. They weren't already dead. They were calling 911.
Yeah. And he admitted to that. He said they were still calling 911.
Can you believe these people? These are grown-ups.
On camera.
On camera. These are the answers they're giving to other grown-ups. It's amazing. It's just mind-boggling.
They should have to turn in their hats. I mean, at the very least, what should happen is no more cowboy hats.
Here, there's more to this. Watch this.
Suspected of where we knew the shooter entered, Ramos, was propped open by a teacher.
So now they're going to throw the teachers under the bus.
I don't understand what they're saying the teacher did. Had the door.
They're saying the teacher propped open the door. That's how he got into the building. The teacher had propped open the door. Well, let's listen. Watch.
Suspected of where we knew the shooter entered, Ramos, was propped open by a teacher. 11:28. The suspect vehicle crashes into the ditch, as previously described. The teacher runs to the room 132 to retrieve a phone, and that same teacher walks back to the exit door, and door remains propped open.
He's blaming the teacher. He's blaming the teacher. That's what he's doing. He's got that timeline down. But how about he goes, the 19 cops stood out there with their dick in their hands while children were being slaughtered inside. They went back to the door that was propped open as kids were being slaughtered. They kept walking around for an hour with their dicks in their hands while kids were being slaughtered. But we're going to put most of this on the teacher.
So really, door safety was really the main issue.
The problem is door safety.
The main takeaway.
You're right. So here's another guy goes on with Wolf Blitzer.
Look at his face.
Listen to this garbage. Listen to this, another cowboy hat jackass. What fucking? They're such children. You know, I dressed up last Halloween. I dressed up for Halloween. I put on a big cowboy hat because I wanted to dress up as an asshole, and it worked. Everybody knew.
Well, was it a mistake, do you believe, Lieutenant, for the officers on the scene who were there, as you correctly point out, to wait for this second tactical team to arrive before fully pushing into that school and neutralizing the gunman?
So what we do know, Wolf, is that there was multiple officers that arrived on scene. There was 3 officers that arrived that made entry at one of the entrances where the gunman actually made entrance to. We had another 4 officers that made entry at the other entrance of the school. So there was officers inside that school. As they were taking gunfire, they were also calling in for reinforcement, backup, tactical teams, snipers, any additional.
They just keep talking. They just keep talking as if they were doing something. They just keep talking. So they're like a kid. So they know they're guilty because they're over-explaining things. You know they're classic liars.
It sounds like in Idiocracy. At this time, a particular individual.
yes. That's exactly what they're doing. If I just say a lot of things, it'll sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I'll use terms like perpetrator and stuff like that.
Personnel that could arrive to assist to not only with the situation, but also to assist in evacuating students and teachers. At that time, that's when a U.S. Border Patrol tactical officer arrived.
An hour later.
Also with a Zavala County Sheriff's deputy, as well as 2 additional Uvalde Police Department officers were able to go into that classroom with a ballistic shield as cover. And of course, we know that one of those officers, an agent, actually was shot, was grazed on the top of the head, but they were able to shoot and kill the suspect and preserve any other life. We know that there was other injured children inside that classroom that they were able to save as well and get them to cover. And at that point, it became a recovery process, a rescue operation, trying to rescue the injured and also any other potential children.
So he thinks he's going to overtalk Wolf Blitzer. That's what this guy's doing. I'm just going to talk, and I'm going to get to the other part of the story, so Wolf isn't going to double back on it. Will he?
Teachers that were inside those classrooms.
But don't current best practices, Lieutenant, call for officers to disable a shooter as quickly as possible, regardless of how many officers are actually on site?
Correct. The active shooter situation, you want to stop the killing, you want to preserve life, but also...
Well, we use worst practices?
No, well, we actually use worst practices. Correct, he said. Wolf says, isn't the best practices you're supposed to go get that guy and stop him if he's in the act of shooting? And he goes, yeah, correct.
That's affirmative.
We were supposed to do that. We didn't. Here we go.
And it's not even that. It's like they not only did they just have like one cop on campus, they had 19 in the hallway.
That 19 in the hallway.
Well outnumbered.
The American people need to understand is that officers are making entry into this building. They do not know where the gunman is. They are hearing gunshots. They are receiving gunshots. At that point, if they proceeded any further, not knowing where this suspect was at, they could have been shot. They could have been killed.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, fuckface. You're supposed to risk being shot to save kids. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't know if you know that, but you're supposed to risk your life. That's why you get to carry a gun. That's why you get to brutalize anybody at your whim and never have to pay a price for it. Because you are supposed to be risking your life. And what he's saying is, they would have been risking their life. Yes! That's what you're supposed to do!
Have you ever been shot, Wolf? It hurts.
They would have been risking their life. That's what they're supposed to be doing. He says it with a straight face. And that reminds me of when Barack Obama said, a police officer's number one job is to make sure he gets home safe at night. That is not his job. His job is to make sure I get home safe at night. His job is to make sure those kids get home safe at night. That's not his job. His number one job is not his own safety. His number one job is the public safety.
What did I say on the phone of it? The fireman was like, well, we had to wait because the fire, there was a fire in the building, so we couldn't go in.
Well, the firemen show up, but it was a little too risky. We had to wait for the fire to burn down, or else we would have been risking our life. What? Yeah, that's why you're firemen. You run into a building. That's what firemen do. That's not what cops do. You see time and time and time again, that's not what cops do. Cops are trained to save themselves. They're not trained to save you. We had that proven to us by a sergeant from the Baltimore Police Department who was got a master's degree, and he studied this as an academic. They're not trained to save you. They're trained to save themselves. Go ahead, Jackson.
Couldn't they have a guy with a megaphone? Do they have any sound effects specialist officers who could have laid down covering fire noises while they
Let's listen to the rest of this.
At that point, that gunman would have the opportunity to kill other people inside that school. So they were able to contain that gunman inside that classroom so that he was not able to go to any other portions of the school to commit any other killings.
So now he's saying, no, they were containing him in a classroom with kids that he was killing. They contained him in there. You go kill all those kids, but not anymore out here. This guy's with a straight face. You see what asswipes these people are? They're all playing dress up. When they're actually faced with a situation where they have to use all these badass gun guys, I love my gun. I want to cook bacon on the barrel of my rifle. All these, and then when an opportunity actually shows up to use their guns, they're all a bunch of fucking cowards. They're all playing dress up
with the straight face. He just said, no, we had to contain him in there because if we opened the door, he could have potentially killed all 19 cops.
Yeah,
and then went on to go and kill more kids.
Yeah. Yeah, when he killed every cop there, and then he would have killed more kids. That's what he's trying to say with a straight face. And even Wolf Blitzer isn't buying it.
It's like every single action they took or lack thereof, and every single comment they've made is the exact thing that you'd expect if you want this to be like the most fishy, like effed up story imaginable.
Yes. So just to drive this point home, since Columbine in 1999, many police departments have trained officers to go after an attacker as soon as possible to minimize the number of teachers and children shot. Before then, the guidance often emphasized waiting for specially trained officers, such as a SWAT team. But the Uvalde Police Department's policy on responding to an active shooter is not publicly available. But a sample policy manual offered to local departments by the Texas Police Chiefs Association states, quote, the first 2 to 5 responding officers should form a single team and enter the structure. The sample manual contains best practices and has been used by more than 100 agencies, according to the association. So they were supposed to go in immediately and try to disarm that shooter, and they did not. They did nothing. They let that guy kill kids as they laid there on the floor, calling 911. In any active shooter situation, the protocol is to address the threat. You go at the threat. You go at where the gunfire is at because you're trying to stop the threat. Texas Department of Public Safety spokesman Lieutenant Chris Alvarez said in an interview on Thursday. Catherine Schweit, a retired senior FBI official who started the Bureau's active shooter program, said officers were taught to immediately neutralize a shooter. Under all circumstances, that is their first priority, said Schweit, who cautioned that it was still early and that all of the facts were not known yet about the response to the Uvalde shooting. Even if somebody locks themselves behind a door, we want to go in and get that guy, she said. And even if a shooter is no longer firing, she said, anybody with a gun who's killed people is an active threat until they're neutralized. So here's the timeline. You want to know how bad this was? Watch this. Student calls 911 at 12:03. Whispers she's in room 112. 12:10. She says multiple people are dead. 7 minutes later. So now 10 minutes after the first call, she's calling again. 12:16. She says 8 or 9 students are still alive. The cops are there. 12:19, student calls from room 111. 12:21, 3 shots heard on the call. The cops are out there doing nothing as children are being shot in a classroom calling 911. 12:36, another call. 36 minutes, 33 minutes late, over a half hour. Cops in the hallway doing nothing. But sitting there listening, the cops can hear that guy shooting children and they won't go in because they're fucking cowards. 12:43, ask for police. 12:47, almost an hour later, they're still calling, asking for the police. 19 police officers stood outside a locked elementary school classroom door for 40 minutes while a gunman slaughtered students inside who were desperately calling 911. Unreal, this official just said that a decision was made to not break into the classroom because the officers on site believed there was no longer an active shooting situation, even though children were calling 911 at the time, pleading for officers to come in and save them. My God.
I mean, this is a pretty intense gun commercial they helped make, by the way, the cops.
And here we go. Here's Ted Cruz. I want to thank the heroic law enforcement and first responders for acting so swiftly. As an ex-prosecutor from Uvalde, I can say, based on my past interactions with Uvalde PD, you will never know the truth about what went down in that school until every inch of videotape is released to the press. So they're corrupt, like every police department. Michael Tracy says, just trying to think of what the most plausible explanation would be. If the explanation really is a large number of heavily armed cops decided to just passively let the mass murder of kids continue without intervening, then the abolish the police people were right all along, I guess.
Kind of an ad for that too.
Yeah.
It's a real do-it-yourself from here on out advertisement.
So this in red or orange, the U.S. has only a handful of places that doesn't. So the rest of the world requires you to have a license, except for this right here, United States. That's it.
What's
every other country in the world makes you have a license. What's this?
The yellow mean?
The yellow is they won't let you have a gun. I think that's China and parts of Asia.
Oh.
Yeah, they won't let you have a gun. I don't even know what country is this? What country is that? Is that Ethiopia? What country is that? I don't know. So there you go.
Libya?
I thought Libya was. Where is Libya?
There's Egypt.
Let's stop letting people know how much we don't know about geography. Where's Egypt? Where's Kenya? Where's Ethiopia? Where's Libya? Where's Morocco?
I think you got it right. I think it was Ethiopia.
What's that?
I think it's Ethiopia.
No. They would be across. So this is on Africa. So that is Ethiopia. I got it right.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter which country it is. But the U.S. is still probably bombing it.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So there you go. And but you know that this is going to result in more money to the cops. This is going to be more money to the cops. And there's a policing problem in America. It's, we don't take policemen out of the population at random. They attract a certain type of person, bullies and people who were bullied. Those are the type of people who like to become cops. And now we're getting people from the military who were trained to be an occupying force, and then they become cops, which is the worst thing in the world, to have ex-military people be police. It's the worst thing you could have. They're trained not to serve those people. They're trained to see those people as their enemy. That's wrong. And they're also trained to protect themselves first. That's why people get killed who are unarmed all the time. So there's a culture of cops. And there's two kinds of cops who succumb to that corrupt police culture, or cops who quit. So every cop you meet is part of that cop culture, or else they would have quit. Okay.
You could say that about any part of government.
And we need to get rid of, and we need to start over with policing in America. And it needs to be community based, meaning that the people tell the cops how you want to be policed, not the other way around. Right now, a mayor hires a police chief and he tells the city how they're going to police them. It should be the exact opposite. All right. So I've done shows on this. Go look them up with Michael Wood. Go look it up. Michael Wood. I've interviewed that guy. He's a scholar. He's looked into policing. He's an ex-cop himself, sergeant in Baltimore. Look it up. Hey, we're doing stand-up comedy in Irvine, California, Las Vegas, San Diego, Salt Lake City, Indianapolis, Louisville, all over the place. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for tickets.